Congresswoman Paulina Luna. She sits in the House Freedom Caucus as well, very influential in making Kevin McCarthy the Speaker of the House in the first place. Congresswoman, great to see you.
Thanks for having me back on, Neil.
From what you've seen, Congresswoman, and what you've heard, and I know details are sketchy, have you found anything to oppose?
No, in fact, I think our speaker is negotiating from a position of power, Neil. And I want to remind people that Speaker McCarthy was the one that championed this $1.2 trillion in tax cuts for these benefits only benefiting Biden's wealthy elite. So I have faith in the speaker. I know that he and his negotiators have already told the White House to take a hike on 2023 spending levels. And so I just want to reiterate that we are united behind him. There is no talk about anything in regards to really going after him. I think that he's doing an incredible job, and I think that he's going to secure a win for America.
There are one or two, we're told, Congresswomen, who might not go along with this agreement that got an elected speaker in the first place. All it takes is one to remove him as speaker. Do you see any problems among the caucus?
No, in fact, I've been in those internal discussions, and let me just put it this way, Neil. You know, if there is a default, it's not going to be the fault of any one House Republican. We did our job, and it's time that this administration does theirs. Up until recently, Biden didn't even want to negotiate with McCarthy. He didn't think that we could get it done. We are empowering him. We are trusting him. And as you know, Neil, Kevin McCarthy is a tough cookie. So if it comes to him getting what he wants versus this administration, I have nothing but faith in Speaker McCarthy.
You know, I've been looking at these numbers, and you know them far better than I, Congresswoman, but the Treasury general account apparently is down to its last $60 billion. I don't know how true that is, but it was at $140 billion a week ago today. So it's draining fast, if we're to take the Treasury at its word. Do you think we could default? Do you think getting down to the final few billion, a bill or two might not get paid? The technical definition of a default, especially if it involves paying interest to Treasury note and bondholders.
I want to be really clear with Americans. From what I am seeing and hearing, if there is a default, it is going to be because Biden and Yellen chose to not pay the interest and the treasuries, meaning that they chose to actively not pay when we well have money to do so, in addition to paying for Medicare, Social Security, and the military. So if Biden wants to end this, then he needs to call the Senate and tell the Senate to pass our budget. But I'm not going to sit here and coddle to the or bend the knee to the Biden administration. Neil, they are basically pushing these crazy incentives that are only benefiting their wealthy elite. Meanwhile, normal Americans are completely getting screwed over by these terrible policies, and we're not going to negotiate with the future of this country, and that's our children's economy.
You should hear what they say about you guys. But let me go a little bit further, if I can, Congresswoman. I know right now some of these sticking points you got into, but I do want to veer into politics right now because Donald Trump, I believe, who you are backing for the presidential nomination, had said in that infamous interview on CNN that he was open to default and that Republicans should hang tough. Do you agree with that? Default is an option.
Well, you know, we did our job, and it's very clear that this administration and Biden, up until really, I think it was a few days ago, wasn't even open into meeting with the Speaker of the House or even taking us seriously. And you know what? I think President Trump actually crushed it on that CNN town hall, if you want to call it that. It was very obvious that that person hosting the debate was clearly not on his side. But either way, I think that it's very clear that if Democrats were in our position, there would be no negotiations. And so to be clear, we've done everything that we can do. I just hope America understands and realizes that this administration has not been transparent about what's even really happening with our economy or what a default is even to the country. And so I think that it's very interesting that they're trying to put it back on us.
But do you think Americans would be able to discern whose fault it was? Just if we default, and it's kablooey time, right?
I have faith that they will, because they have seen that we have done our jobs. And I can tell you, Neil, that I've been doing everything that I can on messaging and will continue to put the facts out there for the American people.
Real quickly, with your support of Donald Trump, what was the reaction of Governor DeSantis, who's expected to announce his own presidential run, I believe, on Thursday? What did he tell you?
You know, I have met with President Trump. As you saw, we had the Florida delegation, most of the Florida delegation there in support of him. So I continue to support President Trump. I love his positions on foreign policy. And I really think that there's a lot of candidates that are jumping into this actual presidential primary. So it's not just a two-person race.
So does that mean DeSantis is no different than some of these other alternatives? You don't place him any higher than some of the others?
You know, I think that DeSantis is an incredible governor, but as you know, Neil, I support President Trump for re-election in 2024. But I also think that Tim Scott had an incredible message about how his story breaks through identity politics. And I think at the end of the day, the best candidate's going to win. I obviously support President Trump because of foreign policy, but I do think that there's some great candidates that are really educating America using their race to do so. And I look forward to seeing those debates. Hopefully, I'm hearing from Wisconsin.
All right, we'll watch it very closely. Congresswoman Paulina Luna of Florida, House Freedom Caucus member, very